Good morning, how everyone doing today? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma Gerald Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you a word on today. Um, we're gonna talk about blessing came knocking at Jonathan's son's door. And also he was able to sit at the table like a king. Now this is a little boy had got a lamb, crippled since he was 5 years old. Since his father and grandfather, Jonathan and Saul, had died. And the nurse loved him so much. So she picked him up, grab him, so they won't come and get him. Because then they killed everyone else that was in the bloodline. Now he was the only heir left. So she grabbed him and he fell. And that's how he become crippled at 5 years old. His name Mephibosheth, but a lot of time I must say Jonathan's son because his name kind of long for me to keep pronouncing, so he was 5 years old. I'm sorry, the story going to come from 2 Samuel chapter 9 verse 1 through 13. So he was 5 years old, when he lost his parents, his grandfather, as his nurse grabbed him, he fell and he become crippled, disabled, So as he got grown, blessing came knocking at his door. The blessing came searching for him, and he had to search for it. He didn't even know he was being blessed. He didn't know he was on the air. He was tied to the throne. Because when that throne is titled for you, it's for you only. And God made sure he was hidden until it was time for him to receive his blessing that he deserved, and he was a title for that throne. So he didn't have, to search for it, but receive it. He also had an invitation, to sit at the table and eat every day. And you know who sit at that table every day at David's table? Number kings come at a special time and sit at that table. And he was invited to sit at that table every day and eat a good meal. So now David think everyone in Saul family line is dead. That's what he think. Now David want to show kindness, and give all that belongs to Saul to anyone in his bloodline. Now you see, David loved Jonathan. Loved Jonathan. They was best friends. They made a covenant for one another. Disco Jonathan today, he still have love after the man. So anyone in his bloodline is still alive. He wants to show kindness on his behalf. So David had asked, is there anyone still alive in the house of Saul? Who I can show some kindness. All he want to do is show some kindness. To anyone that's in Saul bloodline. Not do because Saul, because of Jonathan. So for Jonathan's sake, so David has speak, of showing kindness, of God to any remaining of Saul household. So David was under Saul, but he loved Jonathan. David kept on running from Saul. But guess what? Jonathan always let him know when to come out from hiding. Because them two was like brothers and sisters. They said like brothers. They loved each other. So he had a covenant with him as a friend, Jonathan. So now he acquired after his family, after his death. He still wants to show kindness to anyone that's in his bloodline alive. Now, there was a servant of Saul's household named Zabby, and they summoned him to appear before David, and the king said to him, "Oh, you Zab, and your servant." Now, he was Saul's servant, so now this little boy, he been living with the nurse on some kind of island somewhere, but the nurse trained him to be very respectful, very respectful. So he ain't grow up with no service. He ain't grow up being rich or none of that. He had to find sanctuary in his life because of his crippleness. He still had a wife. He still made children. He still lived a life. As a sanctuary, he had to find sanctuary in his life to keep going. When he lost everyone that was in his life, and I know that can be hard. Because I'm experienced losses, and it can be hard, but he found a way to make it through. And guess what? All that whole time, God was watching over him. God touched the nurse, to put him way out somewhere to hide him until God is ready for him. God had everyone move from out of his life. God could have saved someone, but God wanted to save just him to be entitled to that throne and a blessing that God want him to have. So now the blessing about to look for Jonathan's son, and he don't have to search for it. The blessing will find him. And that's something. It's gonna find him. He don't have to search for it. He don't have to pray for it. So David had wanted to bless and show kindness of God to others. Because once you see David already blessed already. You remember it took David 20 years to get in his seat. He is in his seat, and all he wanted to do is show love and kindness. He just got in this seat right after Jonathan got killed. So some time to pass now. Years had to pass, because the boy was 5 years old. Now he all grown. It took David 20 years to get in seat and some more years to realize, uh, he wanted to show love and kindness to get rid of Saul. Stop. That just like when he was king 20 years before. You know, he took a long time, to then want to dream about building a temple. Just like God said, why you ain't been build a temple? Why you wait all these years? But now I got somebody else in mind to build a temple. So the king asks, is there anyone is still alive? From the house of Saul, to whom I can show kindness to. So he telling this to Saul servant. So the servant had asked, the servant answered, to king, and that is still a son of Jonathan, you know, um, that he is alive, but he lame in both feet. Now he had to specify to David, yeah, someone alive, but the son, he lame in both of his feet. But see, that don't matter to David. It doesn't matter if he had one leg. David loved David, and especially for his son to still be alive. David really wants to show love and kindness towards this boy. So now he makes sure that he let David know that the boy is lamb and feet, but he is alive. Zami is a Saul's servant. So Mephibosheth, just Jonathan's son, Jonathan's son. So when he was 5 years old, you know, when both of his his parents, his grandfather, so that is a sad story. But for him to be 5 years old, the experience, okay, my father is gone, my grandfather is gone. And it just me. It take a whole lot for somebody that's 5 years old to take all this in. All of a sudden, my nurse was nursing me, but now my nurse is taking care of me. So the father and grandfather got killed in the battle of Mount Gaba. So after the death, his nurse took him, flee and hurry to leave, and he fell and became disabled. Now this situation is our God showing his power. God could have saved him from stumbling and fall. Sometimes God allowed things to happen because God have his reason. This was one of God's power in weakness, in brokenness. Because this boy gonna be weak. He gonna be broken. But yet God still have a table set for him. You see what I'm saying? Just because this boy is lame, God still gonna have blessing hunting him down. God still can setting a table for this boy. God had him hidden. And see, God wait for the right divine time, to show him, okay, David, it's about time. You got all this stuff for something. Okay, it's about time for you to start issuing this out. He ain't got nobody else left. But one person I had survived for this special moment. But God will keep you surviving for the special moments that he have for you. See, the little boy didn't know this was all God planned. He didn't know, that God is watching all over him. God was going to make sure he's safe for them blessings to come to him. He didn't have to pray for it. He ain't had to look for it. He ain't had to wonder. All he had to sit still and it was going to look for him. So he had been hidden for years, since he was 5 years old. But now he's about to stand out. God said it's time. He's about to stand out. So this boy had been in brokenness, unable to walk, but he found sanctuary to live. Now, this boy was the last survivor. Imagine. See, Jonathan had no other children. Imagine this boy growing up at 5 years old. Don't know what's going on. Don't know what's going on. But he had to make life the best way he can. Live life the best way he can. So David had said, what is he? You saying this boy is alive? You're saying he lame and took both of his feet? What is this boy? I want to show love and kindness, especially for Jonathan's sake. He got a son, is still alive. Where are he? So David had said, where are he? And so Saul's servant had said, he is at the house of Magran, the son of Amiel in Deborah. This is the small little island way somewhere. That was all God planned, to have him hidden somewhere. So when so to keep him safe, because God, there was the only one that God allowed to survive, because that's the only one God wanted to receive the blessing. So he's in the house. He in the house in a small little island with a generous man that's looking over him. The man was kind of rich and everything. So now the blessing is searching him. The blessing is searching him. Where are he? So I could give him this blessing. Where are he? I got a table set for him. Lead me to what he at. So God has saved him to live, to position him for the blessing and sit at the table. Sit at the table like kings. Like a king, So King David, had him brought from that island, to the house, to David's house. So this son had the right to the throne. He had the right to the throne. And so when God have you set for that throne, nobody else is set for that throne but you. God made sure no one else, was in their bloodline. No family, no friends, and nobody, is not able to sit on that throne but him. Nobody is able to receive that blessing but him. And God allowed just him to survive it, to receive, and God watch over him, and God made sure he was safe, for this special moment, So that's why God did not let no one from his bloodline to live so he can receive it. He was the only survivor. So when the son of Jonathan, of Saul, came to David, he bowed down. So when the son had saw David, the nurse trained him to be very respectful. Remember the nurse, the one raised him, And so when he saw David, he eventually know David is a king. He bowed down and showed respect, and honor. So David had told the son, at your servant, he replied. The son was afraid to visit, the king who wanted to treat him, like a prince. So although he feared, for his life. See, he didn't know what David wanted. Because I don't even think he met David when David and Jonathan were friends, because David kept on running here and there, And so I don't even think David even know he had a child. Because that would have been the first thing he said, is Jonathan's son still alive? So he said, anyone still alive? So I don't think he knew Jonathan had a son, because David was always running from Saul's dad. From Jonathan's dad and Saul. So he may have felt unworthy. And some people can be like that. You being a month head managers and head producers and all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden it's time for you to meet these people, and you feeling unworthy. So he bowed down, and bowed down to David and giving him honor. And David had wanted to honor him. Now he trying to get David honor, bowing down, but David wanted to give him honor, and show him the love and loyalty that he had promised Jonathan. And I'm here to tell anyone, no matter who you stand against, no matter who you stand against, you have to realize you are worthy. We are worthy. You can stand against anyone. Don't low self your esteem and feel like you're not worthy to stand against someone else. He was against David, and he felt it unworthy. But he under David, he crippled, he just felt like he was nothing standing against David. But I'm here to tell you, you're a child of God. We are worthy. You can stand against anyone and don't tremble. Just stand there and be proud. So David so done. So he was afraid, and David had said to him, "For I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land, that belonged to your grandfather. And so, and you will always eat at my table. And you know who eat at that table? A special time you have all the kings eat at that table. And he inviting this boy, you're going to sit at this table every day and eat. You're not going to sit at the table by yourself. You're going to sit at the table with all head leaders and kings sit at this table. This little boy went from living with a nurse, finding sensory to live his life, to about to be, upgraded, promoted, and receiving all kinds. Saul was rich. Saul had everything, but he about to receive everything. Not only receive everything that Saul had on, but he about to take Saul service and everything too. And not just receiving a blessing, the land, the flocks, and everything else, but he's going to eat good every day too. Steaks and potatoes and all that kind of stuff. He's going to eat good every day. He ain't got to worry about missing no meal. And as he eating, you got all kind of leaders and you got all kind of kings going to be sitting at that table. So David invite him to his place, at the royal table, on public days. David ain't said, you can eat at the table when, nobody don't show up and all this kind of stuff. You just sit there alone. No, David said, you're going to sit at this table with a public setting. Now, that's what David said. Now, David treating him like a prince. So David said, David invite him to his place, at the royal table, so on a public days, was a sign for him. And you know who assigned that? God. God had this assigned since you were like 5 years old. See, when God got a plan for your life, it be from way from your childhood or sometime before you was born. Not only he receiving blessing, but he receiving invitation to a table with leaders and kings. So he gonna be sitting at the table like one of the king's sons. You see how his life turned out? His God had turned his life all the way around. Now he ain't got to worry about it. He could pay somebody. He could get somebody, to help him walk in all this kind of stuff. He could pray to God now to get all this shit done. So he didn't know he had a blessing coming. This is a surprise to him. Now he didn't know he had a blessing coming, but now he do. So the blessing came to him, not only to bless him, but he will be eating good every day, sitting at the table like a king. Now his life returned to be wonderful, great. That he lived, living as poor and living how to get his life together, how to live his life as being crippled. Not all of a sudden, he crippled and then he's sitting at the table with leaders and kings. He blessed him with all this grandfather stuff. His whole life now turned around. And God planned his life just like that. God made sure no one else was in his line was still alive. You know, God wanted him to be the only survivor. And trust him, God watched over his whole life. God saw her, and he was not bitter his whole life. He was not bitter, angry, or nothing. He found ways, essentially, to live life the best way he can without being grouchy and mad with God. And see, God watched him and saw that he wasn't mad with him. God had a plan for him, and God was still watching at the same time and seeing if he gonna be grateful, for the blessing that coming to him. So David's treatment of the son showed as a leader, who accept his obligation to show love, mercy. His general provision for Jonathan's son goes beyond above. So God knows our beginning to the end. So God know his beginning. God knew he was gonna fall down. He know he was gonna be crippled. That was all part of God's plan. Taking somebody that's weak and brokenness. And taking him and turning his whole life around. Giving him blessing that he don't even have to look for. Be searching for, praying for. You know, that was all God planned to take his brokenness and bless him. Bless him in a way that he the end will know what's coming his way. So their treatment to the son that shows leadership. Who accept his obligation is shown of love, mercy, and general provision for this boy. And God know our beginning to the end. And see, God hadn't known his beginning. God knew his end. God knew he was going to bless him. He was going to have a wonderful end story. So the son had bowed down and said, what is your servant? That you should notice me as a dead dog. Now, first he thought he was unworthy. Now he think he's a nobody. You wants to give all this here to me. Somebody look like a dead dog. Somebody like me. I'm here to tell anyone that's listening, don't never consider yourself a dead dog. If somebody offer you a blessing, somebody offer you a seat, if you are among leaders and kings and everything, don't you feel like you're not worthy? You are worthy. You sit there, you stand there and act like you belongs there. This boy that had no self-esteem at all because of his crippleness. He was like, to someone like me. Someone like me, you giving me all this here, and you want me to eat at the table with leaders. To someone like me, like a dead dog. Don't never think you're a dead dog. Always think you pretty, beautiful. Always think you worthy. Always walk with confidence and walk fearless. So now he feel unworthy to sit at a table. So David will make sure that he will be provided for. Now David gonna make sure he provided for. Especially since this Jonathan's son, and he loved the Jonathan so much, he give him everything, his grandfather owned and eat good every day, but he feel unworthy. Now David showing love and kindness to him, but this boy has so much low self-esteem that he thinking is unworthy, to sit with king, he calls, call his own self a dead dog. Feeling unworthy, enjoy such a favor. He said, I can't even enjoy this favor, because I feel unworthy. First, I'm standing up to you. I'm bowing down, giving you honor, and you turn around giving me honor and love and kindness. So David is treating him and trying to make him feel comfortable. And that's the same thing how Jesus was. Jesus never want to feel above someone and make them feel uncomfortable. He wants you to feel comfortable to sit and stand next to him. So this is for anyone. Don't never feel unworthy. If someone bless you, receive it. And when someone offer you a seat at a table, accept it, and you sit there and like you belong there. You sit among the king. You sit there, you cross your legs, and you get your fork and your plate, and you eat like you one of the kings. You eat there and you sit there, and you feel like you belongs there, and it fit right on in. So he sit there and accept it. So they're like you, one of the king. He be proud that you not a dead. Be proud that you is not a dead dog. You is not a dead dog. You is a child of God, and that's the way you got to look at it. So then the king had some saw servant, stewards, and said to him, I have given, your master, grandson, everything that belongs to Saul and his family. I give it to this boy right here. Now see, David letting them know. See when the boy in the land, sitting to his whatever belongs to him, he don't want him to try to tell him. So that's why I'm letting you know. He got everything that Saul owned out here on this land. So you can know. And so David had let Saul on servant know that he give invitation, to the king, to the king's table, that the son will be sitting at the table at the same time. We all gonna be sitting at the table to eat. Let him know when you coming at this table to eat, this boy gonna be sitting right here at the table also. So let him know there will be no changes. You don't want. I don't want you to be surprised. So he giving them heads up that this boy gonna be here. So you and your sons, and your servant are to farm a land for him and bring in the crops so that your master grandson may be provided for. And so this son, so the grandson of Saul, of your master will always eat at my table. So he's letting him know again. Now, Zebul, servant who he's telling this to, he have 15 sons and 20 servants. So that's why he told him, make sure you help this boy out. Make sure, help him with the land, and make sure you provide everything that he needs. Because I'm going to provide and make sure he's well taken care of. So now David declare a public, what he had said privately to the son. But his family was to be maintained. Now he did have a family. He did have a family. Now they're not talking about the nurse, no more. I don't even know. I had to read up on it. I don't know if she dead or not. But after when David came to search for him, the nurse was nowhere mentioned at all. So but he did stated that he have a wife, he got children, so the crippleness had never stopped him from having a family. So the family was to be maintained by the fruit of the front of the interstate that David had given him. And so him himself was to eat always with David. Now he let Ziba know, that everything, he spoke with to the son in private, but he declared it public, to the servant. So then a servant had said to the king, your servant would do whatever my lord the king commanded, because he got 15 sons, his servant to do. Now, so the son ate at David's table like one of the king's sons. So the servant had 15 sons, 20 servants, and his son and his slave and his house, being honored with an equip as one of the king's son. Now he had to equip the son. He had to equip the son. Let him know about all, Saul land, everything that Saul owned, how to run the land. He had to equip him on everything. So the son had a young son also, and all the members of a Saul servant, household was servants of the son. So that means this boy had received blessings. He received an invitation to eat at the table with leaders and kings, and now he have the servant. What was his grandfather servant is now his servant. And his 15 sons and everything all work for this boy now. So Zebulun had promised to obey the king's command. He promised to obey King David command to help and equip this boy on what everything that his grandfather owned, how to run the land and everything else. He promised to obey because David said, "I will make sure he be provided for." So now the son lived in Jerusalem because he always ate at the table with the king's table, and he was lame in both feet. Now God hid him since he was 5 years old. Waiting to put him at the right time. He's lame in both feet. But he found sanctuary in his life. God saw that he was ready, to be honored and receive his blessing. Not only, he received blessing, he didn't have to run. He ain't had to run. He ain't had to search for it. He ain't had to pray for it. All he had to do was honor it and be grateful and receive it. And you have to realize, okay, thank you, God. You have to realize where the blessing come from. Just because David receiving it too, it's not automatically coming from David. A lot of time we get blessed, and we have to realize who the right person we supposed to say thank you to. And see, this whole time, God was watching over him. God was watching, seeing that this boy was not bitter. He wasn't angry with God. Most people, especially at 5 years old, being crippled, parents gone, grandfather gone, everybody in the family gone. But this boy still was not angry. He still was not bitter. So God was watching him and seeing how grateful that he will be if he received this blessing. So God had him hidden and took God's divine perfect time to stand him out. And so God said that was the right time. Okay, David is, it's about time for you to show love and kindness to give this stuff, to Saul bloodline. And God made sure that no one was left. But this boy was the only survivor, so he can only one to receive the blessing for the throne, that's coming his way, and so God made sure he didn't want nobody but that person, to receive it, not nobody else, not nobody else, nobody but that boy, and God wait for the very perfect divine time, so everyone. And every day he ate like a king, And so at first, he felt unworthy. But I guess he started fitting in, So when you receive an invitation, to go and sit at a table, don't turn the invitation down. Don't be unworthy. Don't be sick. Be scared. To sit at the table with leaders and producers and managers and all this kind of stuff. You sit there and act like you're a manager. You sit there and act like you're a leader. You sit there and you act like act like you fit in. You fit in. And you sit there. You sit there like you're a king with a fork in your hand eating that steak and potato. Don't turn the invitation down. You worthy. You're the child of God. You belongs there like everyone else. It's a lot of time to think you don't belong there, but we belongs here. And you gotta act like it. Don't act like you unworthy. So sometime, like this son, the blessing came to him. It was a surprise. And God knew he was gonna be grateful because God watched his life. God saw how he was living. God saw how he was living. And God saw that he was not bitter. He was not angry. And God know if I give him this blessing, he's going to be very grateful and still pleasing to God. Because see, you still got to connect with God when you bless. Don't get blessed and then you stop, okay, and pray to who? You got to keep it going. Keep it going. So Don't feel unworthy. No, sit like a king, like you belong there. You sit there across your legs. You have your wine and your fork, and you have your little wig on, and you act like you belongs there. If God set that table for you, that means you belongs there. God had that table set for him. Ever since he was 5 years old. So a lot of time God will bless you, and sit you at a table. So that's the servant of this little boy, the 5 years old. That was Jonathan's son. Jonathan and David were very good friends. And I assume that David never met Saul's son because he was always running from his father Saul. So this boy here had to find sanctuary in his life to live, because the nurse dropped him. She didn't drop him on purpose. She was grabbing him, trying to run, so they won't kill this heir, because they would have killed him. There would have been no heir to receive nothing. They would have to give it to someone else, and God wanted to keep it in the bloodline. you know. And so this little boy here didn't have to search for the blessing. He didn't have to pray for it. He didn't have to run around for it. All he had to do was sit back and a blessing came to him. Not only he got blessed, he had an invitation to sit at the table and eat every day. And every day. And he ate at the table public. David didn't say no special time for nobody to be here and you just sit here alone. David was showing him off and showing love and kindness. You're gonna sit at this table public where all the leaders and the kings sit at. That's the time that you're gonna eat among us. And so he like, okay, I'm gonna sit at the table like one of the king's sons. Yes, yes. So that's all the word I have for you today. Sometime God planned. See, God know our beginning to the end. God knew it was gonna be crippled. God wanted to use that story to show that I could take something, brokenness, and turn his whole life and flourish. His whole life would blossom with blessing overflowing. His blessing was overflowing. He had so much land, so much flocks. He had so much everything. Well, the servant and his 15 sons had to help equip him. It took days for him. See, that's how much David had. It said Saul had. So much land. Sometimes they take them days to even try to go walk around the whole land. But he had a blessing came knocking at his door. Invitation to sit at the table like a king. So y'all have a blessed and safe day. And remember, we all worthy. God have a special throne for all and each and every one of us. God have a gift for all of us, for special people. You don't have to stumble and cross over nobody else stuff. God have everything set for everyone to have their own gift and their own blessing. So have a blessed and safe day, and I'll see y'all in the next video.